Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to today's Xbox Factor podcast. And yes, we are doing this on a Tuesday. It is the bonus episode that, of course, I have promised this outstanding community up until launch. And if my batteries still stay charged, it's something that we're going to potentially invest in on a weekly basis, quite frankly, because I am not only a huge Xbox fan, not only am an Xbox fan who considers himself to be, an achievement hunter and someone that respects everything that company has done for us as fans. I also enjoy interacting with this outstanding community, and the Xbox community has been very gracious to push this very small channel and this particular program for numbers that I never saw coming. I mean, normally you do a show and you get a few hundred people to tune in and you're like, wow, I can't believe this many people tuned in. I'm averaging 10K views per show. Now, granted, that is relatively small when you go up against, the greats. And I put, Dealer Gaming in that category. I put the Colt Eastwoods, the Zolker 87s, of course, a very good friend of mine, Rand Althor 19, along with Jez Corden. And when you start putting yourself in there with, Kid Smooth and a few others, the numbers, they're not as high, but you know what? You got to lay one brick to build an empire. And that's what hopefully I will be able to do with this, this channel. And again, I'm an old man in the room. I got into YouTube a little bit late, but the support has been nothing short of astounding. So let's get into the outstanding panel that we have here today. And we're going to start with a very good friend, someone that you should know, someone that is heavily affiliated with, of course, my brothers from another mothers. And I say mothers with an S. I'm talking about the Iron Lords podcast. Please welcome Dizzy. What's going on, dude?
Hey, thanks once again for having me here. I think it was just the other day I was here.
Yes, sir. You showed last Tuesday, as a matter of fact.
Exactly. We got a lot to talk about in 7 days, everyone. 7 days.
Yeah. I mean, it's look, I got news for you folks. I mean, listen, like I said, I'm not ashamed to say that I'm 50 because you know what? It's fine. I've done a lot in my life and I'm very happy where I am currently. But I gotta tell you, from my heart, deep down in the heartstrings, I get goosebumps thinking about what next Tuesday is going to be. Not only am I getting the Xbox Series X, but I'm getting the Series S as well. And of course, that new Sonic Blue controller to top off, to put that very nice, delicious cherry on top of this Sunday. And I cannot wait to play Watch Dogs. I can't wait to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dirt 5. You name it, I'm going to be trying it all. And of course, for a back compat, I'm going to be looking forward to playing Gears 5. I want to see what that looks like in ultra settings because I don't have a monster rig like most, diehard PC Master Race folks. So I'm going to be. I've never gamed in a steady monster 4K 60 or even at 120 frames. So I'm very much looking forward to next week, but. Hi, Dizzy. Thank you so much for being here. Super, super appreciate it. Making his return appearance, someone that has was with me on my very early days in the YouTube journey that I'm currently on, and someone that I think more people need to get eyes and ears because he does content. A lot of it is Dragon Ball Z. A lot of it is anime based, but I think that he brings a real funness, if you will, if that's even a word, to the conversation. Please welcome CBL Dean from Creating Beyond Limits.
Oh, thanks, man. It's been, I actually can't even remember the last time.
It has been a bit, dude. It's definitely been a while, for sure.
Yeah, it's going back all the way, like when you were first doing everything and just seeing your growth and success has been amazing. But yeah, it's so happy to be back on. Lots of stuff to talk about, especially only 7 days to next gen. This is like the perfect time to get back into just chatting all things gaming, and we have lots of awesome news to be talking about. So It's going to be pretty hype.
Yeah, you know what? It's actually it seems to be almost sadly it seems to be going to merge together with what's going on in the world. Most places, especially in countries outside of America, when I believe we're very close to it, is we're going to be setting ourselves up for another lockdown. and that's not good. I mean, obviously, it's a pandemic is never a good thing, right? And it's scary, and it's nerve-wracking, and it's a lot of uncertainty. But my God, if you're going to be stuck at home having new consoles to play new games on, my goodness, gamers, this is a gamer's paradise, folks. And again, I'd rather not have a pandemic, to be honest with you. But if you had to have, and we obviously cannot change what the world is right now, having new consoles in your home is going to really make waiting out this virus much more easy, if you will. At least we can envelop ourselves in other worlds that are not this particular one through our imagination and the games that we're going to be playing. But let's continue with the introductions. We're going to go next to someone that is currently working on several engines. He is a developer in the gaming community. He has a good eye and a pulse on the industry. Please welcome back Kirby Louise. What's going on, dude?
Hi, it's great to have me back on your show. I mean, it's always great to be able to come on here and just talk with people, have a good time, and I'm looking forward to today.
Well, it's great to have you on, dude. Obviously, we love your opinion. Not only do we get it from a gamer's perspective, which I think is super cool, but you also can harken back to your development skills and come and potentially, comment on a particular topic from a developer's point of view. And I think that having that two-sided coin is a great conversation piece for this particular podcast. So we're great and very happy to have you. Next up, you know him as someone that is heavily involved with the Ocho, ESPN, the Ocho, I should say. But you can tell by by his amazing pick there that he does in fact like the Ocho. Please welcome back to the show, Cotton McCast. What's up, dude?
What's up, everybody? Good to be back. It's getting crazy close to this.
It certainly is, dude. Goosebump inducing for sure.
Yeah, dude. I'm on the edge of my seat. I can't wait. I actually have next week off of work, so
good for you, dude.
Worked out, the stars aligned, and I'm just ready to get my hands on it.
Well, yeah, I think you're there. Hey, listen, just out of curiosity, did you guys beat the raid last night?
We had some technical difficulties, and as when I say we, I mean Cybernox did. His Xbox One X overheated 2 times when we were at like the final phase of the boss.
Oh no.
And it actually happened the night before as well. It's weird because on my Scorpio edition, which is the one he's using, that actually happened to me last week 3 times in the same part of the raid. And it gives you that message where it's like the Xbox automatically powers down if it's not properly ventilated. But both mine and his sit out in the open, right? So that's a little weird. It's a little frustrating, but I think we're going to get another crack at it this week.
Okay. Well, I know. Listen, I don't know what that feels like. I never beat a raid. I never did a raid in Destiny. It's just not my thing. I like the single player aspect. I played with my brother and a few friends. We did the night stuff, and I was okay with it. And mind you, I spent over 1,000 hours in that game. Never did a raid. You know what? I'm fine with it. Maybe one day. But
I'll take you through. I'll do it.
Yeah, absolutely, do. Yeah, we definitely got to do that for sure. Especially now that we can play it in 60 FPS in December. I cannot wait to see what that game looks like. But thanks for being here, Cotton. And last and no way least, making his second appearance on the Xbox Factor podcast, someone that's relatively new, but someone that I believe people need to keep an eye on. Please welcome back Rosie Brown.
Hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Boom. Thanks again for having me back again. Definitely truly humbled to be on this panel. A lot of people I've listened to on this panel, so definitely, blessed to be on the panel again with you. And and I definitely appreciate everything that you do for the Xbox community too, Boomstick. You're definitely one of my favorites for sure in the community. You're very, very, very honest, and you definitely speak from the heart with everything, and you're very dedicated to this. And I definitely like to thank everyone for spending time with us as well. And I can't believe it. 7 days. We're finally here. We're finally here, chat. We're finally.
It is crazy. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the extreme compliment. I am happy that I have, and again, folks, listen, I'm not shy. Obviously, I run 4 podcasts, so if you were shy, you're not going to get on the microphone. Though I am humble, and saying that I have an audience, saying that I have fans, for me, it's embarrassing. In a good way, because I never intended to garner an audience. I just wanted to talk about video games, and the fact that folks, real quick, this is here's some housekeeping. Folks, if you're new, I want to say welcome to the program, but more so welcome to Double Barrel Gaming. This is a channel that does not use hate in any way to promote content. It is always honest, it is always fair, it is always thought-provoking, and it is always researched. Anyone that is on this panel or has worked with me in the past understand when I send you a show notes, it's like me being your professor and sending a whole entire essay. I don't spare any hours at night sleeping. I was up last night to 1 writing again. And you know something? I don't want to pat on the ass for it. I just want to make sure that the content is good enough that if you decide to subscribe to my channel, I've earned that. I don't want any pity. And I say that because I am literally 1 sub from 7K. And that's a big deal for me because I only had myself pegged at hitting 5 this year when I started at about 3 in January. So to have the growth that I have had this year is unlike anything I've ever seen. So, of course, I want to say thank you so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. But, of course, if you are new and you want to further your support, besides hitting the like button, sub and get me over the 7K for today. That would be pretty epic. But you know what? Let me first of all, let me welcome in the 350 people already here. And we're only into the intros, which is unbelievable. So thank you so much. A good friend of the show, very generous friend of the show, Bounty Boom, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, "What up, Boom? What up, what up, Hannah Boom? Let me know when you're ready to do a raid. I would love to join and hit that like button, people. Great show. Yeah, dude. Listen, I'm definitely gonna wind up hooking up with a bunch of people, and I will do a raid just to say that I did one. I'm looking forward to seeing and experiencing what that is about. But look, I want to open up the show with some Phil Spenser news. Look. You know, we know Phil has been making the rounds for quite some time. And, you know, it's always interesting when you hear Phil talk about the Xbox Games Studios. And, you know, he does it, obviously he's privy to a tremendous amount of, Al Hogan has become a channel member. Al Hogan, what's going on, brother? We have not spoken in a while. I hope that you're doing well. I know that you're probably doing 12-hour tours. Watch your 6 and make sure you sign out at the end of the tour, brother. So be safe and God bless for sure. But getting back to Phil Spenser, you know, he is in an amazing position besides being the head of Xbox. He gets a chance to talk, to see games years before we even know they exist. And in that recent interview that has the entire community buzzing, he has made some comments that I want to discuss. And this was an interview that was done by Game Reactor, who sat down with Phil Spenser, and he had some very interesting things to say regarding what's going on at XGS. And, obviously, with Ryse Son of Rome, Quantum Break, Gears 5, Halo 5, State of Decay 2, when you add up all of those old, first party IPs, along with everything that we have coming, it's a very exciting time. And one of the things that Phil Spenser talked about in this interview is how single player story driven adult themed titles have been absent, from the portfolio, but he understands how important the single player experience is. And I think that he was referencing the unbelievable success that Sony has had in more specifically the last couple of years. If you look at 2018, if you look at 2019, if you look at 2020, where they have coming out, they have had bomb after bomb after bomb. Now, granted, I support multiple consoles, some don't, and I get you, I hear you. But if you someone that that doesn't support Sony, then you missed out on a lot of really epic games, and you want your console to have those types of experiences. But this is what I want. I want to go into. I want to go into the article and read some quotes from Phil. He says, without going into too much detail, this is the reviewer. Without going into too much detail, which first-party studios currently have unannounced games that you are the most excited for the public to see? So here is what Phil had to say. He says, I'm going to give you two, if that's okay. One of them is from Compulsion. When I first saw We Happy Few, there was an art style and a setting that I thought was really unique. It's a young studio, and they are still growing and learning the craft of what they are to do as a team. But looking at what they're going to do next, I love their ability to create new worlds and unique settings. That has always been something that is so much fun to watch. So without saying too much, that is one of them. Oh, somebody sounds like they got static. I'm not sure who that is. Okay, so we'll continue. He also continues by saying, the other one I'd like to say is The Initiative, which is our studio in Santa Monica. I've played what they're doing next. Just the talent we have there are able to bring into the and what we've been able to bring into that studio led by Daryl Gallagher is amazing, especially when you bring in such amazing groups of creators and create such a culture that Daryl is normally working with and that he wants to create there. So look, I'll say this. If going back to Compulsion, now I don't have massive connections. I have a few. And from what I have heard, and I think even Iron Lords would be able to back me up on this because I believe King heard the same thing. The game that they're currently working on is apparently something of a combination between BioShock meets Uncharted. It has been confirmed that it is a third-person, over-the-shoulder action type of game with a horror element to it. Now, again, Compulsion is a relatively small and, like Phil said, young studio. But you know what? So was everyone else. When Naughty Dog first made Uncharted 1, did not do well with reviewers. Yeah, it got an 80. I believe it's like an 80 on Metacritic, but it didn't sell very well because, the mechanics were not on par. Now, you go back to Uncharted 2, still my favorite PlayStation game of all time, and we have seen what they have done. A perfect example of how a team can grow. The team that brought us Aloy and Horizon Zero Dawn, they were only known for first-person shooters, and I did not like the Killzone series. I liked the premise of it, but the gameplay was always very subpar. And at one point, it was called the Halo Killer, and that turned out to be, not in fact the case. And then, of course, what could you say about The Initiative? They've been roping in talent from everyone, from everywhere, and some of the biggest studios on the market, some of the biggest games. And their directors have left places like Sony Santa Monica, and of course Naughty Dog, and we've seen big talent come in from Rockstar, who worked on Grand Theft Auto 5 and Metal Gear Solid 5, and the talent that continues to get there tells me that they're building something great, and we believe that is in fact a third-person stealth game based in the Perfect Dark universe. So it's very exciting for sure. But you know what? I want to go to iDizzy first on this. When you hear Phil talk about, when he's asked specifically, what two studios of the 23 are you most excited about for games for the public to see? He could have easily said, oh yeah, well, what Playground is doing at Fable is just mind-boggling, or what they're doing, what they're doing on the next racing game is fantastic, or Avowed, or what Avowed is going to look like. Oh my God, I've seen it. It's going to melt your mind. He picked these two particular studios, and it's really funny because they're both on the opposite ends of the spectrum. One being super talented, and one being relatively new, and with tremendous potential. For you, are you excited to see what he's talking about or what he has seen?
Well, when the acquisitions took place, I mean, we all talked kind of like behind the scenes, over there at Logdan and ILP. Kind of like digging what everybody thought of, who were the better acquisitions. of course, my personal one was Ninja Theory, you know, but right behind them actually was Compulsion, and I got kind of there was a little bit of a glare, like Compulsion. It's like, but when you look at what they've done, like with Contrast, just taking the artistic value of that and being able to create an environment that gives you kind of like a spooky feel without it actually being a spooky game is pretty phenomenal. And then you take the setting of what they did with We Happy Few, you know, unfortunately it didn't turn out how they wanted it to turn out. But just the premise and the world building that they did with that, everything that you can do, and actually having different layers of how the game can actually operate is actually pretty phenomenal, especially with a smaller studio. So then when we had their community manager on, I do apologize, her name escapes me at this time, but you know, and she was kind of like talking about what they could at that time. Really, the only thing that they could confirm is that it was going to be a third person over the shoulder. And since then, a lot more information is coming out. So I'm not surprised to hear Compulsion in there, but at the same time, I guess I'm like tooting my own horn, like, I told you, keep an eye on this studio. You know, I know it sounds like a weird pickup, but there's a reason why they picked them up. It wasn't just because, you know, like, hey, we can get them for cheap. You know, they didn't go bargain bin shopping. They picked them up for a reason. So I think that it's really awesome to see that Phil is high on them. So I'm actually excited to see what they have coming out. And of course, you know, we do look at the initiative. It is such a wild card because I always relate talent to when we're looking at sports. You could have all the talent in the world and it could not pan out. We see the Cowboys, the Dallas Cowboys do all the time, or, you know, the Yankees have done, you know, numerous times. So I'm not saying that that's what this could be. I am high on what they could be doing over there at the initiative, but I am a little bit, you know, I'm going to wait to see what happens because I want them to prove that, like, hey, the talent that we brought in is showing what this talent can bring. So I'd like to see a little bit more before I kind of like dig in on what the initiative has. But really excited to see, you know, with the Compulsion acquisition, what that's going to be bringing.
You know, it's funny you say that because when Phil Spencer was asked why these particular, if you remember E3 2018, and they announced the 5 studios they picked up, they specifically were asked, Phil Spencer was specifically asked by numerous outlets, Phil, I don't understand why these particular ones. And even though he didn't go into super detail, we did hear on the backdrop of those interviews that it was what they were working on that were years out. You know, they went in and obviously, you know, you get Obsidian and you know what you're getting in regards to having an epic Western RPG, you know, foothold. But, you know, they saw Avowed years before it was what it is now. And they were like, yep, this is someone we got to get there. Playground Games apparently was working on something that resembled Fable. And they're like, why don't we just turn this into a Fable? Yeah, we got to buy them. And Compulsion was one of those other games. You know, they was putting the final touches on We Happy Few that, you know, a lot of people played. Some people liked it. Some people hated it. I was kind of lukewarm on it. I jumped in when it was in preview. Just never panned out for me personally. I was expecting more of a BioShock kind of a feel, and it just didn't resonate. But I supported the company because, you know, I wanted to jump in early, support them, and it's but it wasn't that game that they were working on. It wasn't what they worked on in the past. So I'm sure that helped their portfolio. But it was this particular game that they were working on. And when you start saying Uncharted and BioShock, you got me on hello. You know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of people are going to be excited to see. And I agree with you, Pete. This is a studio to watch out for. And I can't wait. Kirby, Louise, let's get your opinion on this. Because obviously, from a developer's point of view, when you hear Phil talk about these 2 particular companies, one of which, like I said, very high on the spectrum, considered to be a quadruple A with the amount of talent they have there. They certainly have a lot of chefs. And they look like, and I've said this before, I didn't even realize that the studio is only, I think it's 57 people. It's not even a lot, but the talent they have is just ridiculous. So I'm imagining, we keep seeing that they're adding and adding and adding each and every month. And then, of course, then you talk about compulsion. Like Phil said, it smaller team. They're still learning, but what they're doing is pretty impressive, and how they craft worlds is exciting. For you, were you surprised by these two picks by Phil Spenser?
I was not surprised about the initiative, because that was, I mean, I could kind of see it coming with all of the hires they were picking up, that they were looking to basically snag some serious talent to build a studio, a AAA studio from scratch. So, I mean, that was, I expected that. Compulsion, on the other hand, yeah, I'd say that was a surprise. I mean, they've been pretty quiet, I think. They didn't show anything off in the July event, if I remember correctly. And they haven't really been saying much otherwise. So to hear that they have something good is good news, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, listen, it's certainly exciting, because this is a studio, like Ideally was saying, that a lot of people were like, yeah, but we happy fool, not a good game. But I'm in agreement with Idizzy. Just because they didn't blow your socks off originally, that happens a lot, more than people give great studios credit for, because we all have to do something first, right? And their first game was an indie title, did very well for them. It was on multiple platforms. We had before, again, like it didn't hit for everyone, and that's fine. But I got a funny feeling this one is going to be big. And I think that with them being a part of XGS, part of the 23 studios that Microsoft has, if they're struggling in something, we know for a fact that each studio has the ability to lend a hand, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be out of the question to see someone from the coalition say, hey, listen, we have third-person experience. What are you guys stuck on? And they come over and they help them. And I cannot wait to see what they bring to the table. I want to get to I'll go to Dean from Creating Beyond Linux next. Dean, but Dean, before I get to you, let me just catch up on some of these super chats. First of all, Chaos Mite, another generous friend of the show, drops an outstanding, very generous $10 super chat and says, finished Gears 3 last night. Great game. On to Gears 4 now. Gears is such a great franchise. Ryse Son of Rome, great game. So Ryse Son of Rome 2 would be awesome. Don't skip this game, guys. Yeah, I mean, listen, that's our next topic, because we have some new information on potentially Ryse Son of Rome 2, and has me very excited. Oh, we have a new channel member, Zopher. Becomes a channel member. Thank you so much for that, dude. Super appreciate you becoming a channel member of Double Barrel Gaming. Another generous friend of the show, Black Eye Dog, drops an outstanding and very generous $5 super chat and says, still hoping for a Jade Empire remake one day. Yeah, oh my God. I just, sometimes EA makes me just want to punch them in the face. Like, they have so many great IPs that they're just sitting on their hands, and I don't know what they're doing. Give us the Mass Effect trilogy, remake Jade Empire. You know what? If you want to go crazy, you have the Star Wars license, remake Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2, or get someone else to do it. Make a deal with Microsoft and let Obsidian do it for you. I don't know. And of course, when the hell are we getting Titanfall 3? What the hell is going on at EA? I don't know. But we have another super chat that just popped in from Jonathan G., who says, who drops a $5 super chat and says, boom, Steelers are 7-0. Here we go. Hashtag sports indeed. And of course, I'm smiling like a big old nerd, because Big Ben is just knocking them down, and Dallas is next. And I'm sorry, Dallas don't got a Chinaman's chance this Sunday, but we still have to play the game. Mr. Tushy, good friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, hit that like button. 400 plus people watching. Congrats on 7K. Thank you. I have to check. I didn't even know I correct. I know I was close. I was one out, but thank you, dude. Super appreciate that. Cotton, Dean, let's get your opinion on this. Obviously there is a lot to be excited about as an Xbox fan. Phil, single-handedly has positioned the Xbox brand to be in its best position in probably a decade. And I'm going all the way back until the end of the 360 era. They have 23 studios. They're launching 2 consoles One, of course, for anyone that wants power at 500, and of course, to cover the casual market at 300. They have Xbox Game Pass. They have Project X Cloud, allowing you to play on anything that literally has a signal. Your TV, your tablet, your phone. And now they have 23 studios, and 2 of which it seems that as funny as it sounds, one is very small that he's very excited about, and really we kind of knew that he was going to be excited about the initiative because of the talent. What are your thoughts on his 2 picks out of the 23 studios that are currently a part of XGS?
The initiative game.
Yeah, Cotton. Let me get Dean on this. Sorry about that, brother.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah, Dean.
Yeah, the initiative game isn't a surprise considering the amount of talent that they've been hiring for that studio. So whatever they're cooking, I can only imagine it's gonna be something that's really gonna be pushing the next gen systems and really gonna be shown. Like, people are like, Halo Infinite isn't really displaying the power that the Series X is supposed to have. Like, all the people that were complaining about the graphics, I can only imagine when the initiative announced their game, it's going to be mind blowing. And now lots of rumors and stuff, people thinking they're working on Perfect Dark along with something else. But yeah, I'm not surprised about their game. Compulsion Games, that could be that's a bit of a surprise because I haven't played We Happy Few, so I can't really comment on the quality of that game. I do have it currently installed, and it is in my backlog, like all gamers have. But yeah, I can already tell just from the game that they did with that, that team is very creative. Like, even though I haven't played the game, from the trailers and stuff that I've seen, it looked like it really did have a fascinating world and stuff like that. So whatever they're going to be working on next, I don't know if it's going to be in the same vein like Super Dark, but I am curious to see more about it. For me personally, the game that I'm most hyped for is Playground Games Fable. Just being a massive fan of Fable since the original, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with that. But I am looking forward to Compulsion Games' next game, along with whatever the initiative reveal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I would imagine that we should see something soon from the initiative. I don't know if it's going to be on that rumored 9th. We know they're doing a big event on the 10th, which is their Celebrate With Us or Celebrate Together. But we have heard rumors that something big potentially is going to be dropped on the 9th. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to be the Hellblade 2 trailer that we know for a fact is ready to go. Is it going to be a montage of trailers? Is it going to be something like a studio acquisition? We have heard that. It's going to be interesting to see, but the Initiative's game is going to be an epic masterpiece, just based on the fact that they have that much talent over there. And here's the thing, folks. Again, I know that what I'm saying is baseless at this point because you know what? I haven't been invited to studio to play the game, so I'm completely taking a shot here from the 3-point range and hoping that I sink it, right? But with the talent that has left some of the biggest development houses in gaming, like Naughty Dog, like Sony Santa Monica, and many, many others, Rockstar, the list goes on and on. There is something going on that has excited studio heads, people that hold very, very high positions. And everyone, I've heard people say, well, just a second, boom, they're probably offering big paychecks. I don't doubt that. I think that there's a lot of zeros to paycheck some of these studio heads that are coming over to work for the initiative. But I don't think that's what it is, especially in the development community. And Kirby could speak on this. Money is great, but passion is just as great. And I think that is something that people look. They want to invest in a project that has them hyped, that has them excited. And whatever they're doing over there at the initiative does have people super hyped. Cotton, let's get your opinion on this. You're a big Xbox dude. So you have high hopes for the platform in the next generation. And these 2 titles are probably going to be next generation only titles, being powered by both the Series X and S. For you, Are you surprised by Phil Spenser on out of the 23 who he picked as his most excited for?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by Compulsion. I mean, Initiative not as big as a surprise like we've been going on about, but um, I played We Happy Few. I remember when they first showed it off in their ID like at Xbox trailer, like way back, however long ago that was, and being so intrigued. Yeah, like you kind of got BioShock vibes from it, and I was like, I'm all in. And then I played the game preview. It was kind of so, but now like the full game, like the finished product is like levels beyond what it was back then. It's like it's very good. The narrative is completely it's super interesting, and the world is it's I don't know, it's I wanted to say it was like BioShock, but it's really its own thing. And to see what else they can do. I mean, they're super creative there. So whatever else they got going on, I'm all in on it. And if Phil Spenser says that that's one of his top two right now, um, that makes me even more curious. As far as initiative goes, the talent there it's unreal. We've talked about it for months about what could it be? Could it be Perfect Dark? I remember that was one of the first shows that I was on with you where I was like a Perfect Dark sort of Splinter Cell single player game would be just unreal to me. I mean, I would love to have something in that vein again. Um, I there's just a big future for what's going on with these developers, man. There's so many of them. So for him to pick those two specifically out of the whole lot says something. I know there was another developer who works at Initiative who said that his daughter was playing a build of the game.
Yeah,
too.
that's the studio lead. That's Daryl Gallagher said that his daughter was playing I guess whatever the finished level was that they were working that they worked on.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, they're making serious progress. If they have at-home builds, I mean, I know with the state of everything going on, that of course they have at-home builds, but it just gets me excited, man. That along with I think the game I was most excited for from like the event that they held, the first party event, Avowed looks amazing, and the
Yeah, it
fact
does.
that now they have Bethesda too, and they can share assets and do all these things. I mean, it's pretty limitless. They kind of have RPGs and a foothold right now, as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's only up from here, man. I mean, people kept saying Xbox has no games, and the fact that he's picking Compulsion as one of the top two right now, and we know they're working on Avowed, and we know they're working on Fable. People have no idea what's in store, really. It's super exciting.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And closing out this amazing opening topic or opening salvo, if you will, let's get Rosie Brown's opinion on this. Now, Rosie, look, you've heard everyone's opinion, though I'm interested to know yours. With Phil picking who he picked, what expectations do you have for both of these studios and their new IPs? Because that's the ticket right there. Their new IPs. Now, I know some people may challenge me. Well, just a second, boom. Perfect Dark, it exists. Yes. But the Perfect Dark that you know, or you probably don't know, because I mean, listen, the game is 15 and 20 years old. Between both releases, between the 64 version and the 360 version, so it's been a bit. And if it's not first person and it's third person, and it's an action stealth kind of a game, like let's say Splinter Cell, that's a new IP in a universe that is packed with potential story tropes. So I'm looking forward to that. For you, what expectations do you have for both of these studios? And are you surprised by Phil's picks?
Yeah, I'm actually really shocked, about the Compulsion games. To be honest, they were pretty quiet, so I was surprised to hear him mention that. Like I said, there's so many games that they have lined up, so many studios, and definitely I would say I am expecting the initiative to deliver something, I think, just amazing. I'm actually really shocked that Phil Spencer actually said that he played a build, and like Han said, that there's actually a build out there. So I thought they were still like in this like hiring process, and they're still trying to get more people and get stuff going. But that to me was a really big surprise. And I'm on the same boat with you, Boom. With Perfect Dark. Like Perfect Dark is for me like back in the N64, the 360 Perfect Dark Zero. Oh man, when that was probably one of the best, like at least at the time, one of the best multiplayer games that I played and single player. I think it offered a very strong single player campaign and very strong multiplayer. I actually met some friends from that game back in the day. They were in Japan and actually went over to live in Japan, and we actually met up. And so that game actually holds something like really close to my heart there. But yeah, I think I'm exactly on board with you. A game like Perfect Dark, like if they could remake it in such a way, like almost I'm envisioning almost like an Uncharted type of game. Uncharted is like third person, lots of action, climbing. It's like a bit of a remix. Obviously not like a copy paste Uncharted, but it'd be something I think along those lines where there's stealth. You could stealth take eliminate enemies. There's lots of traversing, puzzle solving. And then you have also that. So you have the very strong single player, but then you also have the very strong multiplayer aspect of it. Like Uncharted, like for me, Uncharted 2, I think really delivered on that, where it was really strong single player, and then after you beat the game or you want to take a break, here's some multiplayer. So I think that's a perfect balance. If the initiative has a really big opportunity here to deliver with that, and I think the universe, like you said, lends itself to turn into like a crazy story game. I mean, Perfect Dark has like aliens. It was like cyberpunk before cyberpunk was really sort of popular.
Yep. Yeah.
It's very
Yeah, that's a good point.
yeah. Yeah, it's very futuristic. The crazy weaponry, like laptop guns. Like, oh man, like these guys went nuts with the weapon designs, and it like honestly, like I'm personally like as soon as I heard the rumors about Perfect Dark, like I said, I'm so hyped for that, even beyond like my personal connection to it. But and the cool thing is too, it would actually it would be sort of a good thing as well that there's actually like a Perfect Dark. Joanna Dark to me is one of like the strongest, I think, female leads you could say. It's a huge opportunity for Xbox, to sort of right now they're sort of using like Kate Diaz from Gears, with that. But honestly, I think if you put Joanna Dark, she to me is more like, wow, yeah, Joanna Dark. She's when I think of not to put any shade on Kate Diaz, but like I think Joanna Dark could really set out for them with that too, and maybe bring in some right now like a lot of girls are getting into gaming as well, and I think having a character like Cotton mentioned, one of the developers there, their daughter is playing it. So if it is like Perfect Dark, and I think it'd be sort of cool to have just a character like that for a lot of girls, young girls to look up to, and maybe they can get them into gaming as well. And yeah, I definitely think it'd be a huge thing for them. And compulsion games, definitely. Uh, for me, I actually played. I think they had a PS4 launch title. It was Contrast, and yeah, Contrast, like that game, the art style was amazing. Like not to show, I have a little bit of a sensitive side. I did tear up towards the end of it there.
Nothing wrong with that, dude. Listen, that means that you enjoyed, that you were invested in the story. That's awesome.
Exactly right. And yeah, so I know these guys can deliver a solid story. Same thing with We Happy Few. I think they had an idea. I think what it was is that they maybe didn't have enough funding and support, like a big enough team possibly, and I think that's why Phil Spencer picked them up. Like he saw what they did with I think Contrast, and he saw what We Happy Few were like, where their idea was, and like what they really wanted to do, but they just couldn't do it. They didn't have just the abilities to do it. So I think by now Phil's handing them the reins. He's like giving them everything that they need. And I believe Cotton said it too. Like now they actually could reach out to support for all these other studios, and if they need anything, any support, and I think they could really, yeah. I'm really shocked and about the Compulsion Games being named, and now I'm actually even more hyped to see what they're going to be introducing soon too.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll put it to this way. I mean, we know that a female lead is not only important for gaming. I think it's important for the industry. And again, I'm not jumping on any bandwagons here, but I think that a strong female lead can be done, and it can be done in a way that's epic. If you, again, I'm going to say something that may piss some people off, but if you look at like Horizon Zero Dawn, it's one of my favorite games of the generation.
Mhm.
I think Aloy is an amazing, strong female lead. I think that she shows vulnerability, in her actions. I used to think of that of Ellie, with Uncharted, and then of course Naughty Dog just went and ruined the whole goddamn game for me with making her a character that I loathed at the end of the game. I could not stand her, could not stomach her character, hated the story, loved everything else, but literally the story it gets like a 4 out of 10 for me.
The villain.
Yeah, I didn't, and they didn't even do it with class. Listen, this is a Xbox podcast. I don't want to talk about Sony stuff here, but I think that the potential of a female lead in Joanna Dark, or potentially another agent within that agency, would be pretty epic. And I think if it's not Joanna Dark, and maybe she's grown older and she's now running the agency, and this is a new recruit, I would love to start a new journey with a new character on a new IP in the Perfect Dark universe. And I think that if obviously this generation, we're still missing a Splinter Cell. We don't have really those stealth action games like we saw that were vibrant on the PS3 and Xbox 360 era. And it's almost I would it's a travesty of justice that we don't have a new Splinter Cell, to be honest with you. An entire generation, no Splinter Cell. Ubisoft, what the hell you doing? I don't know, but hopefully we do get one in the next generation. But I do want to I'm going to move on to the next topic. I want to make sure I didn't miss any of the super chats that came in. Just give me a moment to catch up. Okay, we got that. And yeah, we got that. Okay, so we're all up to date on the super chats and of course the channel membership. So thank you. If you are here, we're almost at 600 people, which is pretty cool for a small channel. I do suggest you help me out and hit that like button. I'd love to see 300 or 400 before the end of the show. Maybe we can even break 1,000 watching live. That would be pretty dope. Consider sharing this out on social media. Let people know that the Xbox Factor podcast is live and that you are enjoying the content. But I do want to move on to a topic that I'm very excited to talk about. And I know that there's going to be a big discourse and difference of opinion in the chat over this. And, I want to talk about one of the most underrated games of this generation that to this day looks absolutely ridiculous. And I'm talking about Crytek's Ryse, Son of Rome. This is a game that a lot of people, and I saw people talking about it in the chat, are like, well, just a second, boom. It's too much QTEs for my taste. And I say, well, you know what? Then that's your taste, but that's not my taste. I think that, sure, was there an extreme amount of them? Could they may have done something different? Potentially. But I said this in a tweet, and again, I'm not going to shout out the dude because he's blocked. I don't like a-holes coming into my timeline. Usually when I tweet, it's usually out of excitement and happiness, right? If you're following me, and I have over 6,000 followers, you know that when I tweet, it's about a controller or something that my wife gave me or something. It's always fun. So when I saw the story for Ryse, Son of Rome 2 potentially being pitched already, of course, I had to tweet about it, retweet it, get excited. And there's always going to be an a-hole or two to pop in your timeline and you're like, well, it really wasn't that well received in QTEs and whatever. Well, listen, you know what? I don't like anybody peeing on my parade. So what I do is I put people either on mute or block. And that's after I let them read the tweet that I give back to them. And then after a while, I block them so they can read it and walk away with it. But if, look, this is an IP that is exactly what the Xbox brand needs. It's a third person over the shoulder graphic heavy title. It's adult themed, and it has a very strong story narrative to it. These are the types of games that see tremendous success on the PlayStation, and we can see those types of experiences have the same exact, potentially more success on the new consoles. Now, like I said earlier, Ryse Son of Rome 2, Ryse Son of Rome is an epic showpiece. It was back when the console launched, and it is to this day. If you see it running on the current Xbox One X, it is ridiculous. I cannot wait to see if that game gets ray tracing or anything extra on the Series X and S. I am going to definitely play that on launch day. I want to see if they're able to add anything to it, potentially even making it 60 frames per second, which would be ridiculous. And now we have, in the story that I pulled from WCCF Tech, they have an alleged Crytek leak that suggests that Ryse Son of Rome 2 is potentially in active development and has been pitched alongside Crysis 2 and 3 remasters. Now, the Crysis 2 and 3 remasters, that's not a big surprise, and we're really not going to focus on that. But the secret Crytek document that was released does suggest that a new Ryse installment has been pitched and that it went well. So, I mean, listen, Phil Spencer reads the tweets, and I just want to harken back to something, you see, and this is why I blocked the guy, because I brought up a point, and it wasn't. I don't measure dicks here, okay? I don't go to the Metacritic stuff. I'm a big fan of that. Is it important? Sure, but it's not. It shouldn't be the end all of the conversation. So I brought up Uncharted 1. Now, when Uncharted 1 launched on the PlayStation 3, it wasn't as critically accepted as you thought. If you look at, let's say, for instance, Uncharted 4, very high scores, critically and commercially successful. They even did a spin-off game of it, right? A lot of people walked away from Uncharted 1 saying, yeah, Nathan Drake, great character, but the controls, not so much. The hit detection, awful. Some of the climbing stuff, not so good. But what did Naughty Dog do? What did Sony do? They invested in this franchise, and they made it into the monster franchise that it is now because they gave it a chance. And I believe with proper development that Ryse Son of Rome 2 could see the same success. We could see Ryse Son of Rome 2 be compared to Uncharted 2, which when you play that opening level on the train in the snow and you see the footprints, you're like, holy shit, I cannot believe what my eyes are seeing. Because that is still my favorite PlayStation 3 game of all time. I've beaten it over a dozen times. I haven't played it in a while, but I absolutely love that game. So I have a lot of high hopes for this. Now, again, folks, this is a rumor. It is, it's apparently a leaked document. You take everything with a grain of salt. But I want to go to iDizzy first on this. iDizzy, look, a lot of people have fond memories of Ryse Son of Rome 2. Are you one of them? And do you want to see that this IP potentially get a sequel?
Yeah, actually, Ryse Son of Rome is one of my favorite launch titles of the generation. Ironically, I was originally going to get Ryse at the launch, but I made a quick adjustment. I actually didn't get Ryse until a little bit after, but it was definitely well worth it whenever I did pick it up. And I have to say, Crytek is pretty amazing whenever they make their games. Can we just take a second to look back at their games on how well they hold up graphically?
Yes.
Years down the line. Crysis was the same way. So I think that it goes a lot to show towards not just the game itself, but the team that's making it, the Cry engine that's being used, and just how well it holds up, down the line. I would definitely be all for a Ryse Son of Rome 2 or Ryse 2, whatever they want to do with it. If you haven't played the first one, it's pretty much, your typical story of the eagle and the wolf. That's been told many times. You could probably find some movie made in some decade that relates to the story of the eagle and the wolf. But yeah, I would absolutely love it. I think that the only thing that I would have to say is, why did it take so long?
That's a great question. Yeah.
That's my only issue. Why did it take so long? Because I mean, it was just like one of those amazing games to play. And to be honest, I don't think that the QTEs are any worse than a game like Arkham. I felt that it's everything pretty much matches that kind of template. So using that as a complaint is just kind of like weird to me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Give us a second one.
You know what? It's an IP. I mean, obviously, if you beat the game, you understand that it ended in a tremendous cliffhanger. With the potential for a massive sequel. And it's an IP that I believe, even if you decided to change the main protagonist, maybe you wanted to focus on someone else. There is such a large world at play, especially when you start talking about the Greek gods that were factored in there. And this could become, and I'm not saying that they should. I'm not saying they should copy anything from God of War, but because the actual gods were involved, it could potentially become an epic adventure similar to God of War. And again, if you doubt what Dizzy and I are saying, go turn on Ryse Son of Rome right now. You will be amazed. It is ridiculous. And I even would go one further for back compat. Play that game on launch day on your Series X, along with, of course, your Assassin's Creed and your Dirt and whatever else you're going to play. And I can guarantee you're going to be like, holy shit, this game looks great. Why don't we have a sequel? And I just think that it deserves it. And it's one of the lead stories for today. I thought it was absolutely worthy of a conversation. So Kirby Louise, let's go to you next, dude. Like, look, from a developer's point of view, I can't say what took so long. I mean, obviously, the early Xbox days, they had management that was there that had no faith in the brand, right? We understand that Don Matrix literally murdered the company in a single quote. We understand that the human roadblock that will remain nameless is no longer there for Microsoft, and all that the pieces seem to be in place. And one of the things that I thought was interesting was Phil Spencer's admission of how that not only first party but single player games are relevant in 2020. He understands the importance of a strong storied game, and this game, man, it has a long tail and could potentially, if done correctly, be a booming success for the next generation, but more specifically, allowing Crytek to really up the ante when it comes to development, because we know how they are with their graphics. What are your thoughts on the potential of Ryse Son of Rome 2?
So I think it's very possible, obviously. I mean, I joined Xbox a little later, so I haven't gotten around to it, and I only watched about the first 30 minutes of a long play or so before the show to get an idea of what the game is like. And I would say my whole thing my notes I wrote up was about the QTEs, and now that you were like, oh, I blocked people complaining, now I kind of don't know what to say, I guess.
I mean, listen, dude, you're entitled to your opinion. If QTEs aren't your thing, I hear you. But again, I have to harken back to what Dizzy said. What very similar to Batman, any of the Arkham games, very, very hot, very high on the QTE when it comes to the button pressing. Ryse wasn't too much different than that.
That is true. Honestly, if it were me, I'd say at least just put a toggle in there, so like they don't kind of screw with the the pacing and make it too easy. But other than that, I mean, I think they could do a sequel. I don't see why they couldn't.
Well, look, I'll say this. It is a game that, some people would suggest that it might be a risk. Like, let's look at those sales numbers, boom. And you know what? It would be, to at least in my opinion, an unfair judgment, because at the launch of the Xbox One, we understand that there were things that were said. That obviously Kinect was the main focus. It seemed to go away from being a video game machine to being a TV machine, and Microsoft made some definite missteps. And there's a reason why that game didn't sell. It wasn't just the QTEs. It certainly wasn't the graphics. It wasn't the story. It had nothing to do with that. It had to do with the community falling out of love with Xbox because of certain choice decisions. And of course, the media didn't help because the media turned on the Xbox brand. And again, to their credit, even though I don't like to give those guys any credit because the media is just not my cup of tea anymore, especially nowadays, is to their part, Microsoft made it easy to hate them or dislike them because of some of the decisions that they've made. So games like Ryse, Son of Rome suffered because of those transgressions. And I think that the game has been away long enough that it would be considered potentially a new IP, and that they could do some amazing things. Let's get Dean, your opinion on this. Dean, obviously, now we know you're an Xbox first kind of a guy, so I'm assuming that you must have played Ryse, Son of Rome. Do you feel that this game, after taking a 7-year hiatus on the original launch title for the Xbox One, deserves a sequel?
Hell yeah.
Okay, excellent.
What was I gonna say? Just before you said everything there about the whole Microsoft backlash and community, I was gonna bring it up. I think that was one of the main reasons why this game wasn't very successful, because I think Ryse, Son of Rome I think it's a great game. It's not the best game ever, but it was a really good, fantastic launch title. Great gameplay, great graphics. I can't remember the story all too well. It has been a few years since I played it, the story mode, but I actually only recently played Ryse, Son of Rome in the last few months again. I actually really do enjoy the multiplayer on that game. If people aren't familiar with the multiplayer mode for that, it's like PvE, you play co-op with a friend, and it's just like Horde, basically. I'm a sucker for games with a Horde mode, and it was like you're fighting in an arena, just fighting off endless enemies, and I really enjoyed it. And the QTEs, quick time events, they really don't bother you that much. It's probably a lot different to watch a gameplay video and seeing it, seeing how frequently it is. But when, everyone knows, playing a game and watching a game is completely different. So stuff like that, you just don't notice as much. Spider-Man, the most recent one, that also had quick time events. Sometimes it's just really different when you're playing the game itself than just seeing a trailer or a gameplay video, because it goes by so fast that you don't notice it as much. But I really do hope all these rumors, I hope it gets a second chance. I think it really does deserve it. It was unfortunate how the game released with all the media going against Microsoft. Anything they did at that time, regardless of the quality of the game, was already wasn't getting the credit it deserved. So yeah, that's my stance on the original game. But I really do hope Crytek are working on a sequel, because even if it's not exclusive to the Xbox, it will be a great showcase for graphics going forward, regardless of the system it's on. And I'm just happy if they announce a sequel. If it's on PlayStation 5, so
I don't think it would be. I think Microsoft would go out of their way to make sure that it remained. And I'm not sure if they own part of the IP, and that's why there isn't another one. And whether that was a Microsoft decision or a Crytek or a combination of the both, I don't think that you're going to see this on PlayStation 5. Or I mean, you'd see it on PC, sure, but you wouldn't see it on a PlayStation 5, I don't think.
Yeah, well, as I was saying, some games, even if they were exclusive to one platform originally, I know some people would get like salty, get shady, like if it is announced for like multi-platform or it's on the opposite. For me, being a gamer, I'm just happy that if the sequel is getting made, I'm happy that it exists. Like with Sunset Overdrive, if Sony were to make a second one, I'm just happy that there's a second one getting made. Same goes for Alan Wake. Like if the sequels get made, that's all I want. And I really hope a sequel gets made for this game because improvements made to the gameplay and, like I said, the visual showcase it could be for whatever platform it releases on, graphic-wise. Because even today, like you were saying, like the graphics hold up extremely well, and I can only imagine what it's going to look like playing it on the Series X if it has the auto HDR feature, because the game was very colorful. So if that is enhanced in any way, or just the frame rate benefits of being able to fight a lot more enemies at once without the game slowing down, like all that, just out of the box upgrades on the Series X will be another reason just to give the game another go.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree there. I think you're 100% right. I think that with all the bells and whistles these new consoles are going to have, especially the Series X, because it is the most powerful console, it would be pretty epic to have machine learning and VRS and ray tracing in this. And I am, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to do in regards to auto HDR, because that's a thing. That's a thing for Xbox. Auto HDR is going to, I mean, we've already heard that Fusion Frenzy has auto HDR, which is ridiculous because the game came out in 2001, and yet it's going to have HDR. Go freaking figure. So I would imagine that, Ryse Son of Rome is going to look even more epic. I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table. And again, hopefully this rumor, which I have some more information about, comes true. Cotton, before I get to you, brother, let me just catch up on some of these outstanding super chats. We have Game Over, who drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, I love Ryse Son of Ryse and I'm dying for a sequel. Still one of the best looking games ever, in my humble opinion. And I would agree with you there, especially on the Xbox side for sure. We have JMR, who drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, what if Ryse is set in feudal Japan? Well, I say take my money, please, and charge me twice. We have A.O. Greggy drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, listening to the Stellar podcast while waiting to vote. Oh, dude, congratulations. And yes, people should get out there and vote. My ballot's been sent in, my absentee, because I didn't want to go anywhere near the polls. One more week until the best box Xbox Series X releases. Let's go. Yes, dude. I mean, I cannot wait. Very generous friend of the show, Pixelbit G. That's a very generous $5 super chat and says, Ryse would be dope as an in-action RPG. Wow, yeah, dude, it would. Kind of like, could you imagine if it was, well, I don't want it to be like Odyssey, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but I would like some RPG elements for sure. When you return as the Spirit of Vengeance, improve the combat, keep the arena MP mode, keep dismemberment. Yeah, cutting off people's limbs was ridiculous. Pixelbit G drops another outstanding $2 super chat and says, media hated it so much. One said it was too gory. Yeah, I remember that. That's ridiculous. We have Noom Sabat 45 drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says it's not even QTE. Shemu introduced the concept. I'm sorry about that. Let me see where you are. Here you go. He says introduce the concept, and that's when the actual button command pops as an overlay. It's the same combat as Batman. Indeed, it is. And we also have Fred. I hope I don't butcher your name. I apologize if I do. Maskey, or Mazekey. I think that's how it is. Thank you so much for not only being here, Fred, but of course your generosity. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, my last name sounds like Mystique. Oh, well, there you go. Fred Mystique. Well, thank you, dude. Glad Connect Assist games will work. How would voice prompts work? Smash that button now, not later now. Oh, dude, thank you. Definitely appreciate that. But Cotton, according to the story, last week, tons of internet files from both Ubisoft and Crytek are said to have leaked, weighing in at roughly 700 gigs of data. That's a lot. And it was posted, or some of it was posted by a Twitter user called Poke Protus. that leaked the Crytek documents, and in those documents they mentioned quite a few games. Something called Crisis Next, Crisis VR, Hunt Mobile, and of course the big one, the next Ryse game. I put it to this way. Again, I don't know. It's a leak, folks, and so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But man, this story picked up steam, and for good reason. And I hope that someone at Microsoft is either listening to this, will be listening to this eventually, or picked up on the community saying, yes, we want to Ryse Son of Rome 2. The question I have for you, Cotton, is do you want to see Ryse Son of Rome 2 make its way to the Series X and S in the next generation?
Yeah, dude, absolutely. I mean, more games. I'm all about more games always, but Ryse specifically, I would love to see it. Like we've said on here already, Crytek they're masters of their craft of making games look good and last. I don't even think Crysis runs good on almost anything still because it's so demanding of how good it looks. That it runs fine, but like those games look astounding, right? I remember when the Xbox One came out, I actually didn't get one at launch. It's the only console that I didn't get at launch, actually. But my friend did, and we went and picked up, Forza Motorsport 5, Dead Rising 3, and then we were having a pretty good time. But then his mom ended up coming home and didn't know that he had bought games already and she brought him Ryse. I remember us sitting there being like, because we went out and bought those two games. We're like, oh no, we're not gonna get this Roman game. Like, I don't know, we just weren't that interested. But then his mom brought it, and we didn't put it down. I remember the moment where you first get on like the trebuchet, and you have that like the introduction mission where you're running through with all the soldiers. Oh, dude, the game just looks so good. A huge fan of Arkham, and yeah, it definitely plays a lot like Arkham. I know a lot of people aren't fans of like quick time events, but I think it wasn't. I've played games where it's a lot more intensive, where the pacing is disrupted with it. So, I mean, the game looks amazing, like you said. Even if you go play it now, that's a good point. I might try to just play it. Might be one of the first games I play on. See how it looks. See how the back compat like auto HDR and stuff looks. On my OLED and on the Series X, just see like what the system's really capable of with something that, I mean, that's a launch title, man, and 2013. So to see how good it could look now, and it still does, that's interesting to me. I would love to see a sequel, whether it's a direct sequel or if they decide to be a Ryse Son of Japan, or whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
Yeah. If they do anything like that, I'm all in. I don't know. I think back then it wasn't received as well because, I mean, I don't know why people would have complained that it was too gory. I mean, we had games like Gears that were insanely gory, but I think it was definitely just the whole deal with people were just turned off to Xbox as a whole, and with what I feel like back in that time, a lot of people were super heavy into like Xbox people specifically were playing a lot more multiplayer games. And this generation, we've really come to realize like what you're missing out on, because everyone's talking about the Last of Us's and the Spider-Mans and the Ghost of Tsushima, like Uncharted, all these games, and people, it wasn't like till the middle of the generation where my friends who played Xbox got to get their hands on like Tomb Raider, and it really like scratched this itch that they didn't know they had, where it's like, okay, I miss playing single player story driven games, and I feel like fans would be tearing this up if it comes out, and I would love to see it be an exclusive to the Xbox, of course. I feel like, I don't know if they do own any sort of like partial rights to it, but it would just be icing on top of the cake, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. Real quick in the chat, shout out to Lanzo86. He says, Ryse, son of Sparta. That sounds
Yeah,
dope.
that sounds sick.
Ryse, son of Egypt, or Ryse, son of Scotland. Listen, you know what? Cross out the other two, and let's just stick with Ryse, son of Sparta. That sounds dope. Folks, I hope someone from Microsoft is listening, but Rosie Brown, let's get your opinion on this. Now, look, creating new IPs is something that it comes with the territory of development. There's no doubt about it. Creating memorable, epic, single player, story driven, adult themed IPs is something that we know Sony does very well. It's something I believe that Microsoft has done well in the past. Now, again, maybe Ryse wasn't your game. Maybe Quantum Break isn't your thing. Maybe Sunset Overdrive wasn't your thing. But guess what? All of those were my things. And one of the most important thing is that they were single player stories that all offered something different. And I loved everything about them. Even Recore, depending on who you ask, whether you played it in its infancy where it wasn't that good, had a lot of problems, or then the director's cut, which I thought was much, much better. Another story-driven game that I think has potential for a sequel. This game, I think, has a huge amount of lore that can be hashed out, if you will. For you, hearing that this was pitched already and that it could potentially get some legs, are you excited to potentially play and see Ryse Son of Rome 2 release on the Series X and S, potentially maybe in a couple of years?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited about this. Like, I think for like you said, like this type of setting, or even just the gameplay, aspect of it. Yeah, Rise son of Sparta, or even I see like this Rise son of the gods. Like, man, like it, and that would be so awesome if they actually put like a sequel for this. Even if it's like I said, it would be nice to get the like a direct sequel. But if it's like something like you said, if it's another time period there, like there's so much they could do with it. I'm even cool, like honestly, like I was thinking like the games like in this aspect where, you know, definitely Microsoft has Game Pass. That's a huge part of their new strategy now, and I can't help but think like games like Hellblade. I remember when they first announced that they were like, oh, when Ninja Theory, we're gonna be doing more like shorter, small AAA games, and yeah, it would be cool if they can do something like that with Rise, where we can get maybe different settings, or like just like different like different settings, and it's just we'll get them more like episodic, or even just like every who knows how long, we'll keep on getting some Rise games. But yeah, I think it definitely does deserve, I think, a proper sequel. And I don't think a lot of people got a chance to experience the game because it was one of the day one launches, right? Like with the VCR, the big Xbox one VCR there. And like I think it'd be amazing. Like Crytek would, they were able to pull that off, with, we're talking about the VCR Xbox, like that wasn't like strong at all, right? Well, it's strong. It wasn't like compared to, like, if you're comparing the VCR Xbox to the Xbox Series, like it's night and day. Like uh, I can't imagine, they're able to do that back then. What they could do now on this series, it's, man, with the ray tracing, 'cause I remember there's lots of like fire effects and like like lightning, or even the armor. Like I think it would definitely show what they could do with this new hardware. And yeah, I think like CryEngine is definitely known for like melting like like PCs, like I said, like Crisis. Like people are still trying to try to run that like the highest settings that they can. And it's always been like the measuring bar, right? And yeah, so I think with the new CryEngine, what they could do, I think they could do some awesome stuff with it. And I think something that would be pretty cool is if they could actually make like especially now with the new technology. Not only do we have like better graphics, better frames, this, besides the graphics part, is actually now we're starting to see a boom in a sense of like different different, or expanding like different game modes. So like for example, multiplayer, like Fortnite was a really big one where now we can do like 100 player. So it would be pretty cool to see what they could do. Like say if they not only did they make a sequel, but maybe add like a crazy We could revamp the multiplayer mode where imagine you could have like, I don't know, like 50 on 50 people battles, and like
That would
anyone
be crazy.
Yeah.
right? That'd be so nuts. Like I was like, man, like, it could be done now. Like before, like all these ideas of like, oh, they're probably think, oh, we could do this, oh, but we can't because we're limited by the hardware. But now it's like, no, we can do crazy games. Like we can create even like a crazy co-op. We could have this ongoing co-op multiplayer where like people play together, and there's oh man, there's this so much that what they could do with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there is an open-ended potential for this game. I hope that there's some truth to this. Again, we don't know, and hopefully we will find out something soon. Real quick, Sean Jackson actually put out a really good one. He says, "Ryse, son of Olympus." That sounds dope too. And of course, our good friend Anthony Chipmunk says, "Ryse, son of Bug Snacks." I don't know if that would go over too well, but listen, Bug Snacks is going to be free, folks. You can play it on. You can play it in. I think it's January or February. One of those months, Bug Snacks is going to be free. No, I'm sorry, I think Bug Snacks is free now. Yeah, that's right. The driving game. The driving game in February is going to be free. The Wacky Racers one. I'm kind of glad that both those games are free for PlayStation Plus. At least I get a chance to play them. And yes, I'm going to play Bug Snacks because I want to see what it's about. And I'm probably going to play with my nephew who likes those kind of games. And if it's a platformer, I might even play it more than I would want to admit publicly. But we'll see. I want to move on to a topic that it gained some traction. And then it kind of died off. We didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but thanks to the new community update from 343 Industries, we now know that Halo Infinite reveals some fresh armor and vehicle skins for Halo Infinite, and they had some details, that they let out there about how players can renew in-game bonuses now. Now, obviously, the in-game bonuses that they're talking about happen to do with the game that was supposed to launch with the Series X, and unfortunately, we're not going to rehash that. We know that it was delayed. Okay, whatever. And it was a shocking delay, but, it is what it is, and they're going to make a great game once they're finally done. And I hope that they do take as much time as they need, and even potentially hold it and taking as much time as necessary to make it an epic experience, release it alongside the 20th anniversary, which is November 15th, 2021. But they talked about in this update customizable skins for Master Chief, the Warthog, and weapons. And to me, that sounds awesome. I'm going to be honest with you. And based on some of the early pictures, they look really fantastic. Included in these bankable bonuses are coatings, is what they're calling them. Halo Infinite's unique take on skins. Now, while discussing exactly how coatings will work within the world of Halo Infinite through a community blog post, 343 community manager John Junzek showed off some of the new examples of the skins players can expect to renew over the next few weeks. The first one they showed off was called the Red Shift Armor Coating, which suits up a Spartan in red and black, and with it also had a silver tinted visor, which looked crazy good. It will be available for any consumer who purchases Halo or Xbox merchandise from a GameStop store between November 9th and December 13th. So if you pick up any of the games, if you pick up a console or a controller, you're going to get something on the receipt that you can, I would imagine it's going to be like an Xbox Live code that you put in, and you're going to gain access to this when the game launches next year. But you know what? With anything, when it comes to Microsoft, there always seems to be negativity or some sort of, a devious plan that Phil Spencer is trying to, or more specifically, 343 is trying to hatch up to rob the community of their hard-earned dollar. And when this story broke, one of the biggest detractors was the fact that that we know that, and it has been confirmed that Halo Infinite's multiplayer is going to be free to play. And when you hear skins, a lot of people equate that to something like, let's say, Apex Legends or Fortnite more specifically. And a lot of people got in their feels about how this was a terrible idea and that they were going to monetize Halo, and how dare 343 and Microsoft. And I really kind of wanted to get the pulse of not only the panel, but the community. See, I don't have a problem with this, and I don't think anyone really should. And that's my personal opinion on it. I think that anything with skins is an option. And if you don't want to play for X amount of hours or do X amount of things to get said skin that you want, and you have the ability to buy it, good. There's a good portion of the community that's going to run out and buy, just play straight out buy. I mean, I know, like, for instance, one of my godsons, he has over 150 Fortnite skins. Now think about that for a second. Like, they're $20 a pop. Do the math. It's ridiculous how much he has spent. Now, he's an A student in school, and and that's his thing. His thing is Daniel loves Fortnite. So he buys the skins and he gets money for doing well in school and so forth and so forth. You know, so I get it. Dizzy, I want to go to you first on this. Now, look, again, skins, nothing new to video games. Especially when you are talking about a multiplayer game. And again, we don't know if there's going to be a BR mode. And I'm not talking about the battle rifle. I'm talking about a battle royale mode in Halo. But we know that it's going to have a massive multiplayer mode. And it's going to have that in Big Team Battle. It's also going to have that in, of course, Warzone and several other of the the world famous Halo multiplayer matches. For you, is there should anyone be concerned that there's going to be potential monetization of skins in Halo?
I really don't think so. I mean, everybody had an opportunity to kind of get used to the way that the gaming industry has been going. And it's not like that this is something new to the Halo franchise. I mean, Halo 5 actually had loot boxes. And I think that buying a skin straight up is better than buying a loot box kind of situation. Because you know what you're going to get. And that's one of the big contentions right now. And actually something that I don't know if anybody's been keeping up. EA's in a lawsuit right now and actually is being charged $10 million. I think it's in Denmark for, I could be wrong about the country, but it's somewhere over there. They're being charged because of, the gambling opportunities. So what they're doing is, it's more of, what you're going to be getting whenever you get it. And it's not like that a lot of these games, when we see examples of it, and like Apex is a really good example where you could buy the stuff or you can earn it over time. Because a lot of this stuff you can earn by playing in the game. And once you get enough of the in-game currency that is not the purchase currency, you can buy it. Dead by Daylight is another example of that, where the more you play it, the more you earn these points, and these points you can have and allocate over towards buying the thing you want. So it's not like that you probably won't have an avenue elsewhere. And I mean, just the history of Halo of earning unlocks, there's very likely going to be stuff in there that you can't just go buy, that you actually have to earn by playing it. I think that this is water under a bridge. It's nothing to worry about. I think that it's a good thing, and it brings in extra income for the updates that are going to be needed, because it sounds like that this is a Halo that they want to have going through the longevity, especially now that we know that the multiplayer itself is going to be free, and the single player, you'll pay for the single player experience itself. I'm not against it, mainly because it is not a loot box situation. If it was a loot box, I might be a little bit more hesitant.
Yeah, I would agree there. And I think that Microsoft wouldn't touch a loot box with a 10-foot pole. I think being able to see something that you want to buy and charging X amount of dollars for it is probably a better proposition for many people. And I agree with that. I mean, obviously, a lot of people look at Gears 5 and some of the way that they did some of the skin stuff was egregious. And I'm glad that they've gone out of their way to fix the problem. Certainly with the issues that Infinite has had, with its reveal and everything that's going on in 343, the last thing that title needs is more controversy in the form of loot boxes. So I don't think you're going to see that. I think the skins are going to be something you can buy, but I also think that they're going to be something you can earn in game if you don't want to spend a dime. And I think that over time with anything, that is just fine. Because you're going to get people that are invested in the IP that don't mind dropping $20, $30, $40, $100, right? Because they play online all the time. That's their crack. They like looking good. They like having the updated skins. It's like any game that has skins as, you know, as a focal point of the character customization. So I don't see it being a problem. But again, anything with Xbox always seems to be blown out of proportion. At least that's just my take on it. Let me get Kirby Louise's opinion on this. Kirby, you know, when you see the story and you hear about how Microsoft is going to make Halo free to play, which is going to open the door for it to be potentially, and again, folks, this is just potentially, as big as something like Fortnite, Apex Legends, you know, Warzone, you know, the next Call of Duty, whatever the multiplayer is going to be called, and something like PUBG. They're throwing their hat into the ring, and Halo's in the OG, right? And it's got to come out. It's got to impress. It's got to strut its stuff, you know, to be number one again. And I think it's going to be. I think what we're going to get with Warzone, what we got with Warzone in 5, was just a prelude of what we're going to get in Halo Infinite. So I'm excited. But do you have any concerns about skins that you have to buy?
As a, you know, personally, no, because I usually find ways to exploit those systems pretty well, but I know not everyone is like that or has the time and effort to go do that. So, I mean, all I can say is I hope it's not over the top and exploitative. You know, if they're going to do microtransactions, do it right. Don't do loot boxes. Don't do a bunch of that other horse shit that upsets people.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there's going to be a subset of people that are upset anyway, because that's just the way this world is. This world, unfortunately, is very reactive. So if there's something to complain about, there's going to be that group of people that are going to raise their flags and with distaste for a move like this. But again, I just have to harken back to the bazillion games before, but more specifically the ones I keep mentioning: Apex Legends, skins all over the place, Call of Duty Warzones. You just name it, you can buy it. And again, the creme de la creme or the leader of the pack is Fortnite, and they have, you know, battle passes, and they have, you know, new outfits it seems like almost every other week. So I don't have any issues with it, and I don't think the community that play online games will have that either. Let's get Let's see who we're going to go to next. Dean, let's go to you. We know you're a huge Halo fan. We know you can't wait to jump back into the fight for sure. And as great as the single player is going to be, and I believe that in my heart of hearts, I think the multiplayer has a chance to be as great as the experiences that many people had with like Halo 3. That is my favorite Halo of all time. I spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing Halo 3, and I would love for it, you know, to get back to that fever pitch of Halo. But for you, is there an issue with payable skins like we see in so many other games?
Back in my day, we were able to change skins and colors for free. Yeah, this doesn't bother me that much. I think any sort of way they're going to go about it this time is going to be a huge improvement on the loot boxes that were in Halo 5 Guardians. So I think it's a win, I guess, considering at least this time, any game that has microtransactions where you can actually see what you're buying instead of being a random loot box generator thing like the Halo packs are in 5. Like, I don't have an issue because you know what you're buying, and that's your decision. If you decide, hey, this is this much, I can see that this is what I'm going to get, and you decide to pay it, it's your money, you get to do what you want. I just have a huge problem with loot boxes because they are usually, well, always overpriced. And the thing you always want, you never get. And you can, like, some people end up spending way too much money on loot boxes and don't actually get anything they want. They just get unnecessary items or whatever. So I know customization is a huge part for a lot of people in the Halo community. I do customize my Spartan. I don't go too crazy, spend too long choosing which armor and which perfect color. Like, I do it in like a few minutes, and then I don't really think about it unless I decide to change it again after a couple of months. But like I said, it's a one-time purchase. If you're getting one color or anything like that, it's a huge improvement over Halo 5. So considering the multiplayer part of the game is free to play, and they're going to have to make some sort of money back because they're going to be supporting this for a long time with additional maps, modes, and stuff like that. So I think coming out on release day, whenever Halo Infinite releases, if the multiplayer releases in a very polished state, has a lot of multiplayer modes, maps, has Forge, Firefight, all of that included day one, and you already have a bunch of customization available without any additional money, I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's the way it's going to go. I think that you're going to be able to see, and I don't think you're going to see outfits with wings or fangs or horns or anything like that. I think they're just going to be painted differently. They're going to be the Spartan armor. They're just going to have different, I mean, they could have different effects. They could be armors that, armor sets that are on fire. They could be, again, I'm interested to see what they can do to make it interesting. And I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say that I wouldn't drop 20 or 30 bucks on armor that, for, a few subsets of armor that I thought were cool that I wouldn't mind wearing while on the battlefield. Cotton, let's get to your opinion on this. We know that one of your fortes, if you will, into gaming is multiplayer. You spend a lot of time in multiplayer, and Halo, I would imagine, is going to be a place that you're going to lay your head and stay for a while because it's Halo, and it's going to be the new Halo running at 120 frames per second confirmed. And for all we know, that could be running in 4K. We don't know, but I'm sure that it's going to be running the best on the Series X as opposed to the S. But for you, is there any concern that you see that gamers should be, I see a bad one coming regarding 343 and Microsoft in regards to microtransactions?
For me, Halo that is my bread and butter. That's what got me into gaming at the extent that I am today. And part of customization in Halo was always like, it was just like something you had to seek out. Like, you got this armor set from,
like the ninja helmet, for instance.
Like getting that, you had to get all the achievements to get the katana on your back
Yep.
in Halo 3, or you had to do the Vidmaster achievements across Halo 3 and ODST to get the recon armor, or as well as most of the armor sets from either beating the campaign on heroic and co-op, and the list goes on and on. And that was such a, I don't know, that was so cool for what it was back then, because you saw someone with this helmet or this chest piece and you're like, oh man, like, how do they get that? I got to figure out how what do I got to do? And it was its own thing back then. I know times have definitely changed as far as skins and customization, even back to Reach. Just had to play a lot to be able to get those armor effects like the inclement weather, or you had to seeing people with armor effects like Bungie's flaming head. Like, they were all, it was just like I just don't like the idea of purchasable skins in Halo, because I always felt like it was like a prestigious, you earned it somehow. But of course I would way prefer, if they are going to do it, then I prefer them to have like a store where it's an outright sale versus a loot box. I spent way too much money on loot boxes in Overwatch when it was in its prime.
Yep.
So loot boxes are never great. The whole Warzone packs and stuff like that in Halo 5 was like one of the major turnoffs to me for that whole game. Besides, I mean, I played the campaign once. So I could say I did it, didn't really enjoy it, but the multiplayer, I know a lot of people do like it. That's probably my least favorite multiplayer out of all of them. I would take 4 over that any day. And from 4 to Reach to 3, all of the ways that you could earn armor, that's what Halo was to me as far as customizing goes. So I would like it to be more traditional. If they are going to have like, armor effects or whatever, then that's cool. As long as you're not having to pay like $10 for a red Spartan, you know what I mean? Like, or a red variant of the armor you already have, because color customization needs to be, that's always been a thing too. I don't know. I'm pretty in the camp where it's like, don't mess with my Halo like that. But at the same time, if they're going to do it, then I think they will do it right. I don't see why they wouldn't do something like what they're doing in Master Chief Collection right now, where they have the battle pass. It's a free season pass, and they are customizations for like a flaming warthog skin, or blue visor, red visor, and all of those are just earned with unlocks. So, and then I would rather it be something like that than purchasable individual items. And maybe even if you have to purchase the battle pass, because on Master Chief Collection, those seasons are free, and they do it in a way where it's like, okay, I didn't earn everything in season 1. Now it's season 2. But right now it's season 3, right? But I can still go back and choose what I want to spend my upgrade points on, which season. It's a very unique battle pass sort of situation that I haven't seen in other games, and I really like the way they've done it. And they have those more outlandish, like skins and vehicle customizations on there. Main thing for me is I don't want to see. I want there to be some. Obviously, if you can unlock these armor sets without purchasing them, then more power to you. That's cool. It just kind of takes away the factor of like, well, did you buy it or did you earn it? So that doesn't really become important, right? If someone can buy what you earned. So if they still have like these prestigious things, like being able to unlock like a recon style armor through doing something really difficult in the game, and then they keep the fact when you would run into a Bungie employee with a flaming head back in the day on whether it was Halo Reach or Halo 3, there was something about that was like, like, oh shit, like this guy, he works there, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'll say this, Cotton. Again, I agree with you to some extent that there should be a way to earn them, and I believe there's probably going to be a thing. But I don't discount the fact that if you don't want to do 172 hours on one particular board to get a flaming skull, that if you saw that you just want to buy it and it was $5, I don't see a problem with that.
Yeah.
I think if the choice is there for you to earn it, and that's what you want to do as a player, go crazy and spend 172 hours on board A. That's fine. I hear you. But for me, some people don't have the time. Some people will rather say, you know what? I really want that flaming head to look like Ghost Rider, so I'm going to drop $5. I'm okay with that.
I think they'll do it with taste. So I'm not worried about that. So times have changed since those days. I was one of those people who would just do whatever I could to make my dude look more badass than everyone else. And whether I just am in the space where it's like, why would I spend that time doing that when I could just spend $5-10? You know what I mean? So as long as there's something there that is like, obviously you'll have like different ranks or whatever, there'll be things you can show off for what you've done in the game, and I don't think that will ever go away with Halo. So I think that they'll do it with taste. So as long as it is that way, then I'm cool with it. Either way, I'm gonna be playing the game, so I'm gonna be a fraud out there doing whatever.
Well, look, I don't think anyone's a fraud if you buy it or you earn it. I just think that it really it's meant to be there for someone who just does not have the time,
Right.
to spend doing whatever it is that you need to do. I mean, I can go either way. I would, you, of course, you'd like to earn it so you can say, yes, see that flaming head, I earned that. But at the same time, I don't think it diminishes the game if you say, listen, I'm a father of two, I work 12-hour tours, and I just don't have the time to spend 12 hours or 172 hours to get a helmet that I think looks badass, and I want to wear. I want my Spartan wearing it. So I'm good either way. But let's get Rosie in on the conversation again. This is a topic that no one was talking about. I thought it was worthy of a conversation. It's not a conversation that's meant to hate on Halo. As a matter of fact, it's a conversation to get excited about the game, because when you talk about Halo, I think of two things. I think of a very strong single player campaign, which I believe we're going to get, especially when you talk about the Banished, especially when you talk about Atriox as being the antagonist, and the Flood making a return. There is room for an incredible story. I think the gameplay from what we saw looked fun as hell. They just have to, polish up the graphics. I think they can do that. But when you talk about Halo, you also have to equate multiplayer, and multiplayer being a huge aspect. And I think multiplayer is going to be an even bigger aspect now than it's ever been. For you, should there be any concern from microtransactions in the free-to-play version of Halo Infinite?
Yeah, I mean, with that, I don't think there's any concern there really. It's definitely, like most people said, it's definitely better than loot boxes, because loot boxes, man, those are just horrible. I think it's a thing of the past. I don't think loot boxes are going to be like, at least paid loot boxes are going to be, I think, a thing of the past, because not only is it like it's a horrible system, but I think it's definitely bad for kids, because it basically teaching kids like it's getting them into gambling, and it's like that's definitely something you don't want to do. Like you definitely have to be a responsible gambler, and stuff like that. It's definitely, a kid doesn't know when to control themselves, or like I actually used to work for EB Games, and like I remember there was stories that a parent came in, and I guess they added their credit card, and then to their kid's Xbox account, and they just went crazy with Fortnite skins. And they came in like, oh, is there anything we can do? And then I told them to reach out to Microsoft, like, we can't really do anything. But yeah, they made the point of that, just like, I think a loot box definitely is not good for kids. I mean, in this case, that's why I don't mind that if it's just paid skins and it's in a free to play version, like you said. So like, there's gonna be a free to play version, and then there's gonna be people that bought it, and then people that actually got it through Game Pass. So I think it's good just to recoup some of the costs. Like you said, it's optional. Nobody's forcing you to to get these skins. And it's a good way to fund the free to play version. We have, also, I do agree with Cotton. I think they will have, I'm pretty sure, like, that they'll have some good loyalty rewards, like if you, beat the other Halos, and he did some cool stuff or reach certain ranks, and, being on legendary and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure we'll get like some rewards for that, some cool skins, for that. But yeah, I mean, getting, having paid skins, I mean, it's cool. For me, the main thing, as long as it's not pay to win, then
Yeah, I don't think that would be an issue, because obviously the backlash, again, and I mean this wholeheartedly, Halo is in a position where there's no more negativity needs to come that way. What we need to see is get the game done, stop talking about it for a while, let it go, fade away, and then when it's ready to go, you put it out there. It's going to be an amazing experience. I don't think that you would see pay to win. I don't think that you would see anything even remotely close. I think that a customizable Spartan allowing you to purchase items is not a bad thing, especially if they're not charging you for for updates. If this is going to be a free to play game, then all the updates are going to are going to be paid by Microsoft. That money has to be made by something.
exactly.
So
Yeah, and I think it's cool too that we'll probably even get, I know with Gears they gave us a free customizable pack there, with through Game Pass, through the perks.
mhm.
So yeah, I mean, there's even that too for people that, like you said, it's just optional. It'll be cool. This way, we're getting lots of free stuff, and yeah, I mean, if it means that free to play players have to buy some skins to help, like you said, to get those free updates. Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. It's nothing, it's no fire under my bridge, as they say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, this is, again, small topic. We only have about 12 minutes left of the show, and I kind of want to bring another topic into the conversation. But before I do, Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $10 super chat, and he says this: I play GTA Online, and I don't mind microtransactions as long as it's a choice and not required. Great show as always, Boom. Thanks for all of your great shows. Everyone hit those like buttons. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the compliment, brother, and thank you for your generosity. But what I want to do is I'm going to talk about the medium for a hot second. Now, obviously, we've seen a lot of coverage recently on the medium, and I think that this game, based on what I've seen, based on my love of horror, based on the developer that's making it, that knows how to scare the shit out of you, this could be potentially one of those games that people are talking about when we start talking Game of the Year and Top 10. Now, I say that I haven't played the game, but the dual reality system that they have going on, which can only be done on the next gen consoles, has me tremendously intrigued. And, you know, I originally pegged this as being a launch title because they did say holiday, but it turns out that, you know, it falls into the launch window. So it's coming out December 10th. And of course, that's the day that Cyberpunk is coming out as well, which I still think that's going to move. I think we're going to get another delay on Cyberpunk until next year, at least in my opinion. But according to the article that I pulled from Game Rant, Bloober Team's The Medium is using what's called a dual reality gameplay mechanic, which sees the protagonist, Marine, exploring the real and spiritual worlds at the same time. Now, this is something that I've never seen done, and I think many people would agree that this is pretty epic looking. The fact that you're going to be able to use it's technically two characters at the same time in two different worlds. I think it looks unbelievable. And they're called Dual Worlds. So, I mean, obviously, to close out this epic show, I kind of want to get the pulse of the community, but more importantly, the panel. And I want to start with iDizzy. iDizzy, I don't know if you are a horror buff like me and Mrs. Boomstick, but this game definitely has a tremendous amount of next-gen feel. As a matter of fact, it's a true next-gen because it's only available on the Series X and S as well as PC because of the tech that's powering this game. Are you excited to play this on December 10th? And by the way, it goes right into Game Pass day and date.
Yeah, for anybody who was here on the last Tuesday, they also saw my discuss that Cyberpunk decided to move on to December 10th. And that hurt a little. But I've had time to let it sink in because at the end of the day, I know I will be playing the medium and not Cyberpunk on that day. That's what December 10th was for. And I will stand on my square with that one.
I'll stand there right with you.
I am actually really excited for this. I like, it looks like it's moving back. It's a callback to the psychological horror that kind of feels that you would get from like the early on Silent Hill games, where it wasn't just about like jump scares and just creepy atmosphere, but also getting that psychological aspect to it. When they were showing it off how the dual reality works, I thought that was fantastic. So for me, I'm really excited to see how they're going to implement this. I think they said about a third of the game is going to be in the dual reality, and then the other 2/3 you're going to be pretty much. My only question is, because they didn't really explain into this, are you going to be able to swap back and forth during that 2/3 of the time? The way that they have everything looking, if you haven't seen the trailer of them talking about it, I actually have that in a bit of a write-up over at lordsofgaming.net, where they're kind of they're showing how it's going to work, where it's simultaneous on the screen. So that's actually pretty cool seeing on there on how they're going to be handling it. So one side, when you're using it, you're affecting the other side without actually being in the same reality. So that I thought that was pretty neat. But yes, I'll be playing the medium on December 10th.
Yep, and I'll be right there with you. I like single player experiences. I know that Cyberpunk, you know what you're getting with Cyberpunk. It's going to be amazing. I still feel that it's going to be delayed. Again, I really do believe that. But I will be playing the medium first before I pop in Cyberpunk, and I might even beat that first before I even start up Cyberpunk, because when it launches, the next gen upgrade is not going to be available. So there's really no rush to play Cyberpunk, because you're going to want to experience it in the next gen format, which is coming for free as an update. So I wouldn't mind waiting, but I am not waiting for the medium for sure. Kirby Louise, for you, is the medium at the top of the list when December 10th rolls around?
I think that's going to depend on how well this dual reality gameplay thing is handled, and I have a very good reason for that. Is that when you have situations in games where you control two characters at once, it amplifies issues with like controls or inconveniences to the max. Like when I was playing, what was it, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse some years ago on the Wii U, there's a level where you have to control two Kirbys, and it's the what's normally only slightly inconvenient controls of having to draw on the gamepad while you watch the TV is just a total nightmare in this level, because you're trying to micromanage two people. So it's going to depend on how well they nail that gameplay for the dual reality system for me.
I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, you want to be able to control. The one thing that could ruin a game is its control. So if it doesn't control well, it would be literally a nightmare, not in a good way. But I have high hopes. Dean, let's get your opinion on this, brother. The medium, is it at the high list for you? More importantly, is it a game that you'll be playing on December 10th?
The medium has quickly, like, ever since I seen the first trailer, I was already super interested. But during the week of Halloween, like, I made it my goal to play as many horror games on the channel as possible. And one of the games I played is developed by Bloober Team, and that is Layers of Fear. And I played the first game, and I'm almost finished at the moment, and it's really fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. I actually just recently bought Layers of Fear 2 because it's on sale currently. I think it's still on sale on the Microsoft Store, and it was only like €4 or something. So I literally bought that, and I have the Blair Witch Project installed on my Xbox thanks to Game Pass. So I'm quickly becoming a big fan of this developer. And from everything I've seen on the medium, this really looks like their big game. Like, they're putting everything into this. Like, graphically, just everything that they're doing with it, I'm very interested. I think the main character looks pretty awesome. Just the world and the whole mechanic is something that I really want to try out. The thing that I can think of that's kind of similar to it is, if you've ever played the campaign for Titanfall 2, there is a mission in that game.
Yes.
It's like time travel-y, and you're like able to switch the time instantly, going back and forth in time. And like, that's kind of similar in a way. And A Way Out, I know it's not like just the way the split screen is done in that game, the way it's rendering two different parts of the world, or depending on how far away from each other you are. That game is kind of similar. But yeah, the medium, it looks like it's going to be scary. It looks like I'm going to regret playing it, in the sense that I will be terrified. But everything they showed, from the world, character, just the technology that has gone into it, and the fact that Game Pass is doing it yet again with another high-quality game getting added to a day of release. I don't have to worry about being able to afford it, as long as I still have my Game Pass subscription, which is all the way until nearly the end of next year. That's how much it's renewed for. So I don't have to worry about being able to buy it. But if they have any sort of microtransaction or paid DLC for it down the road, I would definitely be picking it up to support the game even more. I am pretty hyped for it. And Cyberpunk, like you said, isn't going to have its next gen update. I am buying Cyberpunk. I might hold off on playing it just until I get that next gen update, so I can play it in all its glory on the Series X. And in the meantime, I can go through the medium and some other games that are in my backlog while I wait for that. But yeah, I will be playing the medium more likely the day it comes out, because I'm going to need some next gen games, and it looks like this is going to be something that's going to be pushing it more so than some of the games that are going to be releasing on the day for the Series X.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And again, the December 10th is usually December is a very light month. And we're getting two big ones, that being one of them. Cotton, let me get your opinion on this. But before I do, Mark Cardwell drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, "Hey guys, can't wait to play some of these new next gen games with you guys and the Xbox community." Yeah, and we can't wait to hang out with you as well, Mark. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your generosity. We have Laketh that drops a very generous $1 super chat. Thank you for that. And we have a big bomb that just came in from Matt Usry, drops a very generous $25 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Doom. He says this. He says, "Hey, Boom and panel, love the podcast. I watch every podcast at work. Helps me with my day. Helps with my day go by. Hashtag keep gaming." Yeah, well, thank you so much for that. And we have Laketh who drops on another super chat for $2. Thank you for your generosity. They say, there is a movie like the medium. It's called Annabellum X Fact. I never heard of that. And Mrs. Boomstick and I are huge horror fans. I'm gonna look that up for sure. But Cotton, does the medium, check the boxes for you for not only being next gen, but to being that horror game that we have seen on not only PC but PlayStation with Until Dawn and several others. But this seems like this is going to be an exclusive for Microsoft, and a big one at that. Are you excited for the medium?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the ones that I got most excited for when I first saw it. Going back to, I think Dizzy said it, it's that psychological horror thriller. It does remind me of like early takes on Silent Hill, like Homecoming. Love that game. I've been itching to play some more horror games. Just because of the spooky season that we just went through. But this game has looked top notch to me.
Yeah,
it is, in the sense it's kind of similar to A Way Out, like he was saying, but the graphics look phenomenal, man. As long as the gameplay is smooth, I think it looks good. Everything I've seen on it makes me want to play it. The fact it's coming to Game Pass, there's not much more I can say about that. I'm definitely going to be checking out on Game Pass. I'm on the edge of like, am I going to play Cyberpunk right away on the 10th? I kind of want to wait for the next gen patch, but also I don't know if I can see myself waiting to play Cyberpunk either.
I'll say this: it's going to be good. It's going to look incredible. There's no doubt about it. But again, if it's going to look that incredible, I wouldn't mind waiting to give something like the medium a shot, because that Cyberpunk is going to be good. See, I have the patience. Plus, on top of that, I'm still going to be playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm probably still going to be playing Watch Dogs. There's so much that we're going to be playing.
There's a lot.
I definitely want to give medium its fair shake. But closing out today's outstanding show, let's get Rosie Brown's opinion on this before we do the outros. Rosie, for you, is the medium a game that you're looking forward to playing? And more importantly, if that both Cyberpunk and the medium release on December 10th, which one would you be playing first?
Oh yeah, for me, I'm definitely looking forward to the medium. Honestly, like I was really hyped. I am really hyped for both games. Like I'm a huge Silent Hill fan, and yeah, I think for sure, I'm definitely gonna be playing. I think probably Cyberpunk. I think maybe I'll probably play that maybe in the first half of my day, and then I'm gonna finish off going into the nighttime. That it's getting darker, sooner. I'm going to be definitely hopping into the medium for sure. And the medium, I think it brings something to to the next gen, like something that's truly. I think it might be the only truly like first next gen experience, like something that this is possible, where it actually is like rendered in two completely different, like characters and settings there, and it's and I think I think it'll be fine. I think it's definitely going to be a huge hit. It's on Game Pass. You know, you're not losing anything. It's not like you're going to buy it and like, oh man, I don't have time to play it or something. You get caught up in some other stuff. Like, I think a lot of people are going to be playing this for sure. The medium, thanks to Game Pass. And yeah, I think it's like I said, for me, I'm a huge fan of like since Silent Hill on the PS1. When I saw that crazy guy hung up in the alley there, at the beginning of the game. I'm definitely looking forward to see some like some crazy stuff with the medium. Like there's actually the composer from Silent Hill.
Yes, great point. I was just going to say that. Yep.
Yeah, like he's making the music for this, so it's Silent Hill definitely has this creepy music and everything. So yeah, I mean I'm definitely hyped to play this here, and yeah, and I think and honestly, some people too, like as crazy as it sounds, some people are not really too hyped for Cyberpunk. I see some people in the chat, not really too hyped for it. It's not really their cup of tea. So in this case, the medium I think still has a huge opportunity to get people like that are maybe skipping Cyberpunk. That hey, there's the medium here, you can play it as well, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a really good time with it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be fantastic, and it's exactly what the Xbox needs. It's a very heavy story-driven, third-person horror game, and I think that's exactly what a new console needs, and they're going to get it in spades with this. Folks, this has been a great 2 hours. I want to thank everybody for being here. Of course, I want to thank the generosity that continues to come in. Your generosity not only powers this show, but helps me do giveaways. And if you're new, you know that I'm going to be making the announcement this week of $1,800 worth of giveaways that we are going to be raffling off. And I cannot wait to be able to notify the people that are going to win those prizes. Probably going to be doing that tomorrow when I actually am not podcasting, take a bit of a break for myself. But let's get into the outros. And we'll start with iDizzy. iDizzy, do me a favor, brother. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, where can they support the Iron Lords podcast as well as the amazing website that you are running?
Yeah, once again, thank you for having me on here. Of course, everybody can follow me on Twitter at iDizzy81, or of course, iDizzy81 across the board, except for on Nintendo, where you need your Nintendo Social Security in order to add friends there. But of course, I would like to invite everyone to come check out lordsofgaming.net. We have a bunch of great writers, and I like to believe that we try to stay away from trying to perpetuate biasm, as in making you feel bad for the bias sakes. Everybody has their opinions about what they like to play, where they like to play most. And I think that we just have a great group of guys over there. They're very conscious of that. So they don't want you to feel bad just because their opinion is a little bit different from what you get from other websites. And of course, Iron Lords podcast every Sunday. We are going at 10:30 in the morning so that you can have your football for the day. And thanks once again, Boom, for having me on.
No, my pleasure, brother, and thank you so much for being here. Kirby Louise, let's get you on out of here. Do me a favor, brother. Tell everyone what you got working on right now, and more importantly, where can people reach out to you on social media if they want to strike up a conversation?
What do you mean by what I'm working on?
Yeah, like, I mean, what do you got going on?
Oh, nothing. I'm just kind of waiting on getting my Series X so I can enable dev mode on it and pick up where I left off, because I working on my engines, because I was like, I think I'll just kind of give it a break for now.
Okay.
So that's what I've been up to. You can find me on Twitter at Kirby0Luis, and I guess that's about it. Thanks for having me on.
Well, dude, it's always great to have you on. Love the perspective from a gamer, but also enjoy the perspective from a developer, and cannot wait to talk games with you on a future episode. Let's go to, of course, CBL, which is short for Creating Beyond Limits. Dean, thank you so much for being on today's show. Definitely got to get you back on much sooner than later. Tell everyone about your channel, but more importantly, where could people reach out to you on social media?
Well, if people want to reach out to me on social media, it's at Dean5578. And before I say anything about the channel, I just want to say thanks again for having us on, Boom. This was pretty awesome. And yeah, we definitely can't let it go that long again. It's been too long. So yeah, my YouTube channel is Creating Beyond Limits. Last week, I actually had the biggest week of uploads on my channel. To celebrate Halloween, I uploaded a video every day, 10 in
Wow.
total. I was working on this for a month and a half, so I can have all the videos ready. I played lots of games: Slender, The Arrival, Layers of Fear, Amnesia, The Dark Descent. Lots of stuff on the channel. I'm currently working on continuing the Layers of Fear playthrough, and I'm also playing through Typo Man with my wife. We've been doing that, and that's going pretty awesome. We're really enjoying that game. So yeah, and I actually recently just had 2,000 subscribers last week.
Nice, dude. Congratulations on that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm just working on getting a lot more gaming content on the channel, and it's just been a blast. So yeah, again, thanks for having us on. You have a great community here. It's awesome.
Thank you so much for being here, Dean, and definitely you will be getting an invite much sooner than later. Cotton, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media, but more importantly, if they want to team up with you on Xbox Live, can you potentially give us that info?
Of course, yeah. Always a pleasure to be here, man. Really appreciate the invite. It was really cool to talk to you guys. I think everyone here, except for Dizzy, I had never spoken with. So great opinions, good conversation. You can follow me on Twitter at Cotton McCast. This is also where you can add me on Twitch or PS Plus. And if you're trying to play some Destiny, that's kind of all I've been playing recently. And the fact that Beyond Light's going to launch with the new Xbox, that's what I'm going to be on until I'm done, which might be a while. So
Yeah.
add me on Xbox, Terry Fold, or hit me up on Twitter if you're trying to run a raid or need help with anything. I'm always down.
Definitely appreciate that. Thanks for the info, brother. And if you need someone to run you through a raid, Cotton is your dude for sure. And last and no way least, Rosie Brown making his second appearance on today's program. Do me a favor, Rosie. Tell everyone where they can follow you on social media, but more importantly, what else you got going on?
Oh, well, thank you very much there, Boom. Yeah, definitely, I'd like to say thanks for everyone for hanging out with us today. Can't thank you enough, Boom, for having me back again. And yeah, you guys can follow me on Twitter. I'm highly active on there. So my Twitter handle is at Rosie Arts. And yeah, if you guys need any help, online for Xbox there, definitely huge, pretty big into Destiny. So if you need some backup there, Cotton, I can definitely, I can help
Oh,
you out
yeah.
there too. So my Xbox Live is Club Space 108, and I'll put my socials in the chat for everyone there as well. And yeah, I'm also making a lot of YouTube videos too lately. So I made a recent YouTube video just about a special secret weapon for the Xbox. There is the DLI. So you guys are more than welcome to come check it out. My YouTube is MMA_Yakuza, or if you just type in Rosie Brown, you'll probably see me there as well. And yeah, so definitely looking forward to to hanging out with you guys. And oh my gosh, I still can't believe, hope everyone hangs in there. We have another week, and we're gonna be gaming on our Series X's and Series S's, man. It's crazy. I can't believe it.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a great time to be a gamer. But listen, folks, I want to thank everyone for once again coming out for the bonus episode. We had over 600 people here. Of course, I want to thank my panel for killing it as always. And I want to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught me. He used to say, son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, and we'll see you this Thursday on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor podcast.